beautiful glam fam, and welcome to today's video. We're testing out the brand new DANESSA MYRICKS Lift and Flex Concealer. We're going to see how this wears on my mature skin. I did pick up two different shades, so I have both 3 and 4, and we're going to see what they look like on separate days. All day wear test, plus I have natural daylight footage. I have been playing with this concealer for the last 4 days, so I have my thoughts behind it. If you like videos like this, I'm Kristi. I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's get glowing.
You better turn up. You better be there when I shake.
Alright, my beautiful glam sisters, let's dive right into the details because I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I do have 2 different shades I want to get through. So let's touch on those details really quick. This is the brand new DANESSA MYRICKS Yummy Skin Lift and Flex Hydrating Concealer with hyaluronic acid and caffeine. This retails for $30 US, and you get about 0.32 ounces and 9.4 mils of product. So you're looking at about $3.19 per mil. This is made in China, and it does have a 12-month shelf life upon opening. This concealer is meant to deliver a buildable soft matte medium to full coverage finish. This is described as an all-over face serum hybrid concealer that is packed with plant-powered skin-loving ingredients including hyaluronic acid and vitamin E. This concealer is meant to flex with your skin to lift, smooth, correct, and cover. This contains less than 1% of synthetic fragrance. It's vegan, gluten-free, and cruelty-free. The highlighted ingredients are sodium hyaluronate, which hydrates and moves with the skin, caffeine, which makes the skin appear brighter and tighter, and it also has centella asiatica, which moisturizes and strengthens the skin barrier. Let's take a look at the full ingredient list. We have water as the first ingredient, then you see your trimethacones as the first and second ingredient, and then the third ingredient is isonol isononanoate, which is an emollient ester that has a rich and creamy texture that's supposed to deliver a very non-greasy feel. The next one I highlighted was hydrogenated polydacine because I wasn't aware with what that was, and that's supposed to be an emollient with a medium weight thickness that has a texture that's supposed to be very similar to mineral oils. You guys could take a look at the rest of the ingredients right there, but I was really happy there was no coconut derivatives in there. So let me remind you guys of my skin type. I have over 46 mature skin, very sensitive skin. It's normal to very dry at times, but I am acne prone, so a lot of ingredients will kind of trigger and make me break out. So I really like to dive into those ingredients to make sure there's nothing in there. Now, I don't break out right here. So typically with concealers, if there is some type of coconut derivative, I can get away with it, but it's not my favorite. So I'm really excited that she did not include that in this ingredient list. Now let's take a look at the shades. So this is available in 20 flexible shades that are designed to match every skin tone and tackle any concern. A little goes a long way with this. So let's take a look at that packaging first. You get that beautiful signature DANESSA MYRICKS aesthetic with the same tones that she has in all of her packaging. It's nice, it's compact for traveling or just even on the go for touch-ups. I really love this packaging, and I do really love that target dose applicator that provides that perfect amount of product so that you don't overuse it or waste any product. So shade 4, we're going to start off with that because I'm going to show you guys how I applied that on a different day, and that's described as a light with neutral undertones. This is a really beautiful neutral shade. This is very true to neutral, and I'm very happy about that. Sometimes it can lean a little too pink, a little too yellow, and I'm just happy that it is really purely a neutral undertone. And it's going to depend on your undertones how that's going to pull, but I really loved this shade, and I really loved that it gave me some brightening, but it wasn't too light where I can wear it on a very minimal, no makeup kind of day. And I do appreciate that a lot. And I'm going to show you guys how I applied it on that day and what it looks like outside as well in a second. As you guys can see, that Target applicator really distributed the right amount of product, which I really do appreciate. And this is my first time trying this out, so I really wasn't sure how much product to apply. I started off with my Hourglass concealer brush to spread out the product, but you will see I quickly learned that the sponge is a much better option if you're going to apply that all over your face, because this dry down is so fast. It's not giving you a lot of wiggle room. So you're gonna have to work work quickly if you're going to do it this way. And if you do apply it all over your face like I did, I would recommend going in with a sponge. If you're gonna do a brush, then you're gonna wanna do it one side at a time, and you'll see that how I did that and how I actually enjoyed it in today's look with shade 3. So we'll touch on that in just a second. I honestly would recommend though doing one eye at a time if you are going to use a brush, because you are just going to have to move so fast to blend. Because this is not as creamy as my Hourglass concealer, I just didn't have that flex time to work with the product. This has a lot less pigment as well, so you're not getting like the ultimate coverage right off the bat, but it's going to be great for spot concealing as well. I really enjoyed it even on my dry skin, but be mindful that if you have super dry under eyes, I don't know if this is going to be the concealer for you. It's not as moisturizing as the Hourglass one, but if you prep your skin the right way, once you apply it, it is going to go on very nicely. And once you blend it out and find your method of dry time, I think you're really going to enjoy it. And that is how it looked up close. Now let's take a look at it outside of my studio lights in natural daylight. And then I'll quickly show you guys what it looked like outside in the wear test, but we'll go over that more later on in the video when I go over my rankings. Now let's take a look at shade 3, which is described as fair with golden undertones. This has a lot of yellow in the undertones, so something to be aware of. I would have loved it a little bit more if it was more golden, and maybe even more golden neutral. Like if there was a 3 neutral, that would have been nice. But you guys will see in the finished look, shade 3 still does work for me, and it is still very beautiful. I will have all of my foundation and the base I used listed below, but I did go in with my dermatology eye patches on this look because I wanted to show you guys kind of the difference, how much hydration means, and those eye patches are just everything to me. And I just made sure to really prep my skin. I do have my Calisime eye cream on that I applied hours ago, so I always do my skincare, like my normal skincare, hours before I put my makeup on, like maybe an hour. If I don't have that much time, at least a half an hour before. After removing those eye patches, I did go in with my MAC Fast Response Cream. And this is a really good moisturizer that works as like a primer, like how you would prime your skin. It really smooths out that under eye, and it really allows for that concealer to last all day and apply a lot more smoother. So that is a must-have step for me. And then I went in with the Dermatology, and this is the Sunscreen Hydra Stick. You guys, this is incredible. This has no coconut oils in it. I did a short on it, and one of our beautiful Glam Fam sisters, Jessa, asked me how would it work as like the Aquaphor trick at that Scott Barnes one I did. You can check out that video. This is amazing for that. So it really does help protect the under eye area, but it also like kind of gives us smoothing hydration, I think even more than the Aquaphor stick. So this is amazing. So what I did was I kind of put it on my ring fingers because again, that's the less pressure. And I try not to go too close to my eyes because I don't want it to burn. This is not a mineral-based sunscreen, so I just wanted to make sure. And for some reason, Dermatology regular sunscreens don't affect me like normal sunscreens do. I don't know why, but they just don't. And they were something I discovered on my own, by the way. And it really did smooth out that under eye area, but it allowed for this like a little bit of a grip, just like the Aquaphor would do. This was amazing. Plus you're getting that sunscreen protection. So I absolutely loved it. So I did pat that in before I went in with my foundations, just so you guys know that. And I went in with my Maybelline Skin Tint 118 and my L'Oreal Glotion in Light, this time not Fair, Light, because I wanted to darken up the foundation a little bit, and that kind of oxidizes it a little bit. That's a little trick for you guys, but it kind of keeps that same tone, which I really love. So I applied that before I went in with the concealer, obviously, but I wanted you guys to be able to see how I did that base. And doing that prep under the base is important. And then I went in with the shade 3, and again, the packaging is absolutely stunning. This time I went in with a little less, and I did one under eye at a time. So I dabbed a little bit on that inner portion and then the outer portion. I didn't go too high up because I'm gonna carry that when I spread it out, it will carry up closer to the eye. but that avoids creasing later on. Just a little trick for you guys. And I did go in with my BK Beauty Angie A506. This brush is perfect for this concealer. It just somehow spreads it perfectly, more than the Hourglass one. So I really enjoyed it with that concealer brush, and working quickly that way was beautiful and a lot easier. After I patted it in with the A506, I went in with my Dose of Colors sponge to really just make sure everything was nice and blended. I'm touching that really lightly. I'm not going too aggressive in there because I don't want to pull away the product. I want that pigment to stay there. That for me is probably the best way this concealer applies. That was my favorite applicator. Now she did release a brush to go along that's kind of like the A506, but if you have the A506 from BK Beauty, you don't need that brush. So that is what it looks like with the shade 3, and that is what it looks like without anything underneath. So you guys can kind of see the differences of the difference that the concealer made. And I think it looks really beautiful like that, you guys. The way I prepped it with the Dermatology eye patches, the MAC Fast Response Cream, that just really was a really good method. Now let's try the other eye. So I'm gonna go in a little bit more because I am gonna use the Dose of Colors sponge. So I'm just gonna apply just a little bit more than I did on that other side. And then I'm gonna go in right away with that sponge and I'm gonna start blending it out. Now, as you guys can see, it's not as much pigment. I don't know if you can tell, but I can see that there's not as much pigment because it's pulling away a lot of the product. So I do, again, prefer the A504, but I'll let you guys see what each side looks like in comparison. So for me, that's just gonna be a better method with the brush and the sponge, especially since this is thin and not as pigmented as like the Hourglass. The Hourglass, I typically like using that one with just the sponge. It's just my favorite way to apply that one because it is so incredibly pigmented. I'm gonna build up a little bit more of the shade 3 on that side that I did the sponge, just because I kind of want to match it up to the other side. So I'm just building up a little bit more. And I think that's a perfect amount. I don't think you really need more than that. But it looks really good, you guys. I really found that the way I prepped my skin, again, is just going to make a huge difference on this application and how it's going to wear throughout today. Now let's take a look at it in natural daylight. Now let's set it down with my One Size powder. You guys know the drill, my Makeup Forever HD Puff, and just really set that down. Now that powder is gonna give me a little bit more pigment because it is a powdered foundation. You guys know that is just my holy grail. That and Chantecaille, either one, the petal, I can even do that and not the One Size. But the One Size gives me just a little bit more coverage. If I'm gonna do the Chantecaille, I typically like that one with my Hourglass one because it has more pigment. I don't have to cover up as much. Because I have some discolorization right here under my eye, that's the only reason why I like that. For me, it's just a security blanket that makes me feel better. Not everybody likes a lot of powder. You have to do the method that works for you. And then I went in with my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush powder. You guys know the drill, 100mm Makeup Forever Puff. Really pressing that in and setting down my foundation. Taking my Surratt brush with my Sweet Beauty powder and just giving myself a filter on my face because that's the most incredible powder you'll ever use for giving you this, I don't know, magical glow to your skin. It really is just magnificent. And then I went in with my Chantecaille powder to really highlight and close up those pores, you guys. Oh, the Chantecaille powders are so pretty. All right, you guys, I am gonna show you guys what it looked like once I did all of my makeup and what it looks like outside at the starting point. So I will see you guys for my final thoughts in just a second. All right, Glam Fam, let's go over my final rate card. If you're new to my channel, I like to go over 5 different categories and I touch on application, overall finish, wear time, the shade range, and the packaging. Let's take a look at the application. This really did glide on nice. And I do, again, love that precision tip applicator, but you do have to work very quick with this formula because that dries down so fast, you guys. I do recommend a sponge if you like to apply your concealer under the eye, on the forehead, all the high points, and then start blending out. But my favorite way to apply this concealer was with the BK Beauty A506 and doing it one side at a time and then tackling the high points of the face after that. But I really do feel like that gave me the best coverage and precision because I prefer a more creamy concealer like the Hourglass, and I don't want to have to worry about dry down time. I'm going to give application a 4 out of 5. As for the overall finish, I would consider this more of a comfortable matte rather than a semi-matte as described, because once it dries down completely, that is more of a matte finish in my opinion. And that could be good or bad depending on your skin type and your preferences, and also is how you prep your skin. That is going to make a huge difference. Comparing this to my #1 Holy Grail concealer, again, this is not as creamy or pigmented or hydrating. I will put the percentages for those 3 categories that I look for in a concealer right there. I like to think about this and then do it in post editing. I do enjoy this for my skin type, but in smaller amounts. And again, I just have to really concentrate on that skin prep, which we'll talk about in just a second. But I actually do love the formula for an eyeshadow base. I think it is a really nice eyeshadow base because it is that more comfortable matte finish. It's really gonna allow those shades to pop through, but also stay. And I really enjoy it for an eyeshadow base and for spot concealing. But because I enjoy a lot more hydration for my under eyes, I'm gonna give the overall finish a 4 out of 5. As for the wear time, I do think this concealer wore very nicely through the day, and I was quite impressed with the wear time overall. Even through heat and humidity and a very long run, this impressed me. I'll show you right there how it looked with a smallest amount of shade 4. I mean, literally I did 2 dots under each eye, and I went on a 4-mile run in the morning, and it was so hot and humid, and the Dermatology Mineral Sunscreen mixed with my L'Oreal Glotion, that is what my skin looked like after my run. It was beautiful. Now let's take a look at my midday check-in with shade 4 again, just so I can remind you what shade 4 looked like on, actually not midday, that was the full day, that was at the end of the day when I did that outdoor footage for shade 4. And it looks really beautiful even without, I did do my Dermatology eye patches, but I didn't do the MAC Fast Response Cream on that one. Now let's take a look at shade 3, and that was my midday check-in today. I was actually about 6 hours into wearing the concealer, and that is kind of how it looks built up more in more of a glamorous way, I would say, than I did shade 4. I mean, shade 4 was glamorous, I guess. Kristi always just glamorous, but anyway, shade 3 still looks really good on my skin tone, even though I prefer shade 4 more. Shade 3 still looked really good, so I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. As for the shades, let's talk about the shade range. 20 flexible shades is okay, but I do think DM could do a little bit better on expanding that, especially in that light to light medium range. I'm just going based off of my skin color and undertone, so everyone is going to look at that shade range differently and have different opinions. Keep that in mind. Now, shade 4 is the one I would keep. I think overall that was just a much better undertone for me personally that looked very nice, and I would utilize this concealer in just more of a natural way, just because like how I did for my run, that was perfect. Now, I have to say this had very low oxidization for being a skincare infused concealer. So just keep in mind that all foundations, concealers, and powders will oxidize. It's just going to depend on your skin's pH and chemistry, plus other factors to consider as well. So it's different for everyone. Makeup oxidization typically manifests as a shift in color, often turning your foundations, concealers, and powders darker or more orange toned, as you guys will notice. So I'll show you guys right there. Those are some really strong oxidizing type of concealers. So I did the DANESSA MYRICKS, which barely oxidized, and then I compared it to my one size because that one oxidizes like crazy, and that one's 2G, and that one becomes very orange toned as soon as the air hits it. So skin pH and chemistry, the natural pH and chemistry of your skin can influence how your makeup products interact with it. So the combination of your sweat, your oils, and your skin's acidity can cause chemical reactions leading to color changes and oxidization. So it's going to vary depending on your skin pH and chemistry. That's why it's oxidizing products are different for everybody. You also have to consider exposure to air and light as another factor. So the exposure to air and light can accelerate the oxidization process. Oxygen and UV rays can cause the breakdown of certain pigments and ingredients in makeup, altering their original color. Ingredients and formulations, like certain ingredients in makeup formulations, are more prone to oxidization as well. So anything containing iron oxide, titanium dioxide, or certain oils can be susceptible to color shifts when exposed to air or applied on the skin. But every product, no matter what, is going to oxidize a little bit. But I have to say this one barely oxidized, which I was really impressed with. And I did really enjoy shade 4, like I already mentioned. So I'm going to give shade range a solid 5 out of 5. As far as packaging goes, I loved the packaging on this. And I already mentioned I love how compact it is. I like how sleek it looks, how chic it looks. And also, I just love that her overall packaging on all of her products just really matches. And I love that aesthetic that she has created. The overall component, I would give it a solid 5 stars, but I have to take a look at shelf life and where it's made, and I have to combine that into packaging. So this 12-month shelf life is decent. It's pretty normal for skincare infused concealers. I just would have hoped for a little bit longer shelf life. Even 18 months would have been nice. Now, I don't mind products being made in China if I'm paying Temu prices, but when I'm paying $30, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I expect this product to be made in Italy, France, USA, Japan, Germany, or even Korea. I just have to be real with you guys. That disappointed me. So I am going to give packaging a 3 out of 5. That really was a big deduction for me. So we're looking at a total glam score of 20 out of 25. Would I repurchase this concealer? Yes, but at a discounted price. So if this was on a Sephora sale, yes. But at full price, $30, I don't know if it's my favorite concealer to say that that's worth a $30 price point. So let's go over my top concealers and where I would rank this concealer. So we're looking at Hourglass as my holy grail. Nothing can beat that. It still is just by far the best concealer ever made. And Cotton is my perfect shade, and then Oat would be the next shade if I'm really tanned or if I'm spot concealing. I like Oat, so you guys can see what those two look like side by side. The next one is Dior Forever Correct in 1W. Love that one. That is my second favorite concealer of all time. Again, really nice pigment, very hydrating. I don't love the ingredients as much as the Hourglass one. That's why it's second. And Hourglass, just for me, just holds up the best, never looks cakey. The third one would be the Makeup Forever HD Skin. Now that is a very lightweight. Again, this is kind of a similar, I would say very similar to this DANESSA MYRICKS one, but it's a lot more hydrating. So that is 1.3N. That one oxidizes like crazy on my skin, so just keep that in mind. The next one would be Surat Dewdrop. You guys, that would be number 2 if it didn't have coconut derivative in it. I think it has Capric Caprylic if I remember right. So, but it is amazing, you guys. And shade 3 is my shade for Surat. That one doesn't oxidize too much, and that is the perfect shade for me. I love that concealer. It never looks cakey. That would just literally be a close second if that didn't have the coconut oil in there. And then we have NARS Creamy Concealer. I just applied that one in the last video. That is a very nice concealer. Not as much coverage though. That is for a very natural look, or it is buildable, but it's not as much coverage as like the Hourglass. Now Maroon Glacé is that shade right there because I ran out of Nougatine. Nougatine is actually my favorite shade, but I didn't have it in the NARS Creamy Concealer, but I'll show you guys what that shade looks like in the NARS Soft Matte Concealer Pot. And then we have Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Purpose Concealer, and that is still a really good concealer, and that is shade Snow, if you're anything close to that. And then I would put the DM Yummy Skin next, and that would be shade 4 and then 3 next to that. So you guys can take a look at what those shades look like in comparison to all of the other concealers. And then we have One Size at 2G, but that one oxidizes like crazy. That's what drives me crazy about that concealer, and it could be a bit drying. Very, very full coverage right off the bat though. Probably a lot more coverage than you would even get with the DANESSA MYRICKS Yummy Skin. And then the last one I would place would be the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Concealer, and that is in shade 5M. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that helped you out. If this was something you were interested in, I hope I gave you a lot of useful information and showing you guys on separate days what shade 3 and 4 look like. Again, 3 looks really great on my under eye, but I still would choose number 4. So let me know if you guys picked this up and what you guys think of the concealer. I love to hear your thoughts. As always, don't take my word for it. Always try it out for yourself. If it's something you guys really want to try it out. You never know until you test it out on your own skin, because we all have different skin types and preferences. So please keep that in mind. If you are new to my videos, thank you so much for watching, and I would love for you to hit that subscribe button, click the post notification bell, join our beautiful glam fam. We're here every Sunday, and we just love for you to become part of our family. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a huge thumbs up, because that really does help my videos out. And when you comment below and say hello, it really does push my videos up through the algorithm. I'm here all week. I'm usually Monday through Wednesday, but it can vary on the days with weekly shorts. I also have a blog, KristiAllure.com. All of my affiliate links will be listed in the description box below, as well as on YouTube. I'll show you right there. You can click on those and it will go directly to those sites. So you can, however you guys want to do it, it's always on my blog, KristiAllure.com, and my shop, my website. So definitely check all of that out. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out that video next, and I will see you guys in the next one. Love you guys. Bye.
I'm holding on, if almost gone. Someday I know I'll finally make it. I know that we can go higher if we keep our faith, if we keep our faith. Sometimes I'm like a